All right, Shalom. Shalom, giving all praises, glory, and honors unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elder bishops of the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the 144,000, the rest of the hopeful elect out there. This is your brother, Priest Desire, one from GMS Atlanta. Back with another edifying video. And just like Emperor Nero in his past life, Donald J. Trump is becoming less popular and more cruel. President Donald Trump, in his second term here in the U.S., is becoming less popular and more cruel. And this is a repeat of his life when he was Emperor Nero in the Roman Empire. Now, we here at GMS, we believe from the apostles on down that Trump is Nero in the reincarnation. Reincarnation is in the Bible. There's no new thing under the sun when you read the book of Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. Although you have, non-believers and gainsayers against it, there's plenty of scriptures to prove that you live more than one time. Your spirit lives more than one time in different bodies. But that's not this topic. That's another lesson for another time. Nevertheless, history is repeating itself. So let's go with that. History is repeating itself. So just as Emperor Nero in ancient Rome was popular, and as he became more cruel towards the end of his reign, he became less popular. The same thing is happening with Donald Trump. And what is the old saying? How does it go? The old adage. He that doesn't know history is doomed to repeat it. So this here, what I have up is a poll. All right. From Quinnipiac University. It says, and this is from June 11, 2025. So this is a recent poll here. Majority of voters oppose the GOP budget bill, with 67% of Republicans in support. Quinnipiac University national poll finds Trump job approval 38%. His handling of Russia-Ukraine war the lowest among list of issues. So it says, as the Senate debates the GOP tax and spending bill, titled One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and President Donald Trump pushes for a July 4th deadline to sign it, voters 53 to 27% oppose the legislation, with 20% not offering an opinion, according to Quinnipiac University national poll of registered voters released today. All right, so, Trump has this, this bill set up, which is being talked about in the Congress and the Senate. And people aren't down with it. Elon Musk, him and Trump was going back and forth on Twitter. He was Musk was exposing a lot of things. He's the former head of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. And they were just going at it on social media. So people are losing a lot of respect and love for Trump, based on his policies. Okay? Now, what I want to get here is President Trump. 38% of voters approve of the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president, while 54% disapprove. In Quinnipiac University's April 9th poll, 41% approved, while 53% disapprove. The voters were asked about Trump's handling of 7 issues, and I'll deal with the relevant ones because it's a good list. So it says immigration issues, right? 43% approve, 54% disapprove. Deportations, 40% approve, 56% disapprove. The economy, 40% approve, 56% disapprove. Trade, 38% approve, 57% disapprove. The Israel-Hamas conflict, 35% approve, 52% disapprove. Russia-Ukraine war, 34% approve, 57% disapprove. So people aren't really following behind him, with the way he's doing things. Okay. And I saw this article and I was like, because when you know your history, the Roman Emperor Nero was also having issues in his reign where the public didn't like him. So what I want to do is this. I looked this up. And what I had here was, I just looked this up. Did Emperor Nero lose approval with the people? So it says here, an overview. Initially, Emperor Nero enjoyed considerable popularity with the common people of Rome and the provinces. However, his approval among them did wane towards the end of his reign. Okay, so let's deal with Nero. It says, here's a breakdown of how Nero's popularity shifted. Early reign popularity. Public appearances and entertainments. Nero's involvement in artistic and athletic events, including chariot races and musical performances, resonated with the populace and fostered a sense of connection. Now, Trump does the same thing. Trump is known to go into these major entertainment events, whether it's boxing out there in Vegas. He's known for his social media presence, even for his reality show presence. What was it? The Apprentice? Was that it? I forget the name of the show. The one with Omarosa and they're fired. That was years ago. But he was known for being, he was on the WWE. Vince McMahon, I believe Linda McMahon was in one of his cabinet positions. Not sure if it was last term or this present term. So he has close ties with these different billionaires and entertainers. It says fiscal and judicial reforms. And this is back to Nero. He implemented reforms that benefited the common people, including tax reductions and fairer judicial processes. Generosity in public works. Nero funded public works, sponsored spectacles, and even provided cash handouts, which helped solidify his early support. Now, what was the main thing that Jake was loving Trump for? Because of them checks that they were getting during the pandemic, the PPP loans and so forth. Yeah, that was Trump. So, you had black Republicans for Trump and blacks for Trump, and they were being interviewed and saying that they're going to vote for Trump as he runs for his second term. Why? Because he was, money was being given out. Now, I also looked this up. So I said, was Trump popular among the people? So it says, Donald Trump's popularity among the people measured by job approval ratings, saw fluctuations during his presidency and in his second term. So let me do this. Let me go to the scriptures. All right, can't leave out the Bible. So let's go to Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. All right, so this is Ecclesiastes chapter 1. In verse 9, it says, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun." Verse 10, "Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us." Verse 11, "There is no remembrance of former things." So the things that people do, yeah, and what you have to understand is people. I got to quote the old song. People make the world go round. All right, people create civilizations and empires. People invent technology. It's the spirit in man that gives him the inspiration to innovate and motivate. All right, there is no world without man creating that world. Okay, there is no country, no presidency, no monarchy, no empire without man behind it. So if you were a king in your past life, you'll be a ruler in your next life, a king in your next life. It says there's no remembrance of former things. So the only thing that is prone to remember things outside of creatures is man, is human beings. So it says there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. So just as we had a Roman Empire in the past, we have a Roman Empire today, which is what is known as the beast in Revelation, the 13th chapter. It's also known as NATO in America today. Listen, you got to know your history in order to fully understand the Bible and understand prophecy. And that's why we here at GMS, we're always going into these topics. All right? We're not going to debate what type of sandals John the Baptist had and, Yahweh Shai had, or where John didn't want to latch his sandals. We're not going to debate how many colors Joseph had on the multicolored coat. Okay? Or how many different instruments David could play when you read the Psalms. We're not going to, debate stuff like that. We're not going to debate Christians. We're going to bring you relevant topics pertaining to edification and salvation. And we'll bring out certain points in history, going to the laws, which I've done I went over all 613 laws, all right, on this channel, on my page. It's in a playlist, and you can be edified. It'll take some time, but it's there. You want to get into the culture, the scriptures on that. We'll go into those things when they're edifying. I don't want to segue too much. So it says there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. Trump doesn't remember him being Emperor Nero, but his life reflects that. When you do a comparison, his life reflects the same life he had back then. Same thing with other high-profile leaders like John F. Kennedy. All right, was also Abraham Lincoln. But that's a heavy topic that many people don't believe. But nevertheless, these scriptures have to come out because it is a part of edification. It is a part of the truth, reincarnation, right? And the same historical points that came out in the past are the same points that are being played out as history today. Matter of fact, let me get I believe it's Romans 15th chapter. Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. So history is important because we learn from the past, especially from the records in the scriptures, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. And that's speaking to the elect of us, the men and women of the elect. All right, and those of us that are hopeful elect, we are hoping that whatever comfort we get through following Yahweh Shai is going to bring us salvation in these last days and times of this wicked kingdom. So now let's go back to what I was dealing with here. Did I look up Trump? Yeah, Trump. Okay. Now there was a particular point that I wanted to bring out. Here we go. So let's deal with this. This is from... Oh, here we go. Let's see. Explaining the popularity of Donald Trump. Let's see if I can bring this back up. Okay, so they want me to subscribe to this. This was a good article. Okay, let's look this up. University of Cambridge. Let's see. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see here. That was a good... okay, here we go. Trumpism. Let's deal with this. Let's deal with the MAGA people. The MAGA people. So there's something called Trumpism. Okay? So it says Trumpism, also referred to as the Make America Great Again movement, is the political movement and ideology behind U.S. President Donald Trump and his political base. So this guy is basically a god. He's a god, and that's how the Roman emperors were looked at as in the past, or like gods. All right. So this is why in Rome that they were inaugurated. And the same thing today, whenever your president is about to take office, he gets inaugurated. Bush, Obama, Trump, all of them. Biden. So this is basically like a religious movement almost. An ideological movement. It says it comprises ideologies such as right-wing populism, right-wing anti-globalism, national conversation, neo-nationalism, and features significant illiberal, authoritarian, and at times autocratic beliefs. Trumpist and Trumpians are terms that refer to individuals exhibiting his characteristics, where the Trumpists and the Trumpians, even they're looking at Trump sideways in this term. Because he was popular at one point, but he isn't anymore. There is significant academic debate over the prevalence of neo-fascist elements of Trumpism. So it says Trumpism has authoritarian leanings and is associated with the belief that the president is above the rule of law. That's because he's Nero. He's an emperor. All right. Trump believes he's the king. He believes that he's the king of America, really the king of the world, because that's a heavy position. You know, they call the president the leader of the free world. You know, the U.S. president. Well, Trump believes he's the king of the free world. It has been referred to as an American political variant of the far right and the national populist and neo-nationalist sentiment seen in multiple nations starting in the mid-late 2010s. Trump's political base has been compared to a cult of personality. Trump supporters became the largest faction of the United States Republican Party, with the remainder often characterized as the elite. The establishment of Republican in name only, Rhino, in contrast. In response to the rise of Trump, there has risen a Never Trump movement. And this is, Trumpism. This is Nero, okay? He's a king. He's been reincarnated back in this position, right? And when you do the history, Nero was the same ruler of Rome that blamed the believers in Yahweh back then, who were called Christians, the true Christians, that they burned it down. While he was playing the one of the string instruments, they said it was a fiddle. I'm not sure. I got to do the history. If it was a lyre, which is also a string instrument, but they say that he was playing the instrument while Rome was burning. Now, what does Trump like to do? He's not necessarily a musician, but he is in the entertainment, and he does go golfing. You know, so he's into that. He's into the same things that he went into back then. All right, poetry, entertainment, music. He's into that today. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. We can get Trump's first 5 weeks in the polls. Now, basically, Trump was okay, let's look at this. The Pew Research Center. Trump was popular, Nero was popular early in their term. Okay, so this is from the Pew Research Center, February 7th, 2025. Let's see here. All right, here's what I want to get. Trump's job rating remained as polarized by party as ever. 84% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents currently approve of the job Trump is doing. By comparison, just 10% of Democrats and Democratic leaners approve of Trump's job performance. So people are at one point were saying, okay, Trump is going to come in, he's going to do the right thing. We'll see where this goes, right? And this is early. Now, let me see here. When I look this up, I look for, I wish I can get this article here, but it won't let me show it. Let me see here. So let's go back with this. During his first term, 2017 and 2021, his average approval rating was 42%, with the range of 37 to 47%. He started with the 47% approval rating, but his popularity dipped through his first 100 days, reaching historic lows compared to other presidents in recent decades. Its lowest approval rating was 34% at the end of his term in January 2021. In his second term, his approval rating is around 44%. Right? So people were ready for Trump to get back up in there. This is higher than his average approval rating in his first term. However, his approval rating has been declining since January 2025, when it was at an all-time high of 46%. His current approval rating of 40% is on par with his rating at this point in his first term. It remains lower than other recent presidents' approval ratings in the early months of their presidencies. In summary, Trump has a consistent base of support, particularly among Republicans, according to the Pew Research Center. And I looked at that. However, his overall approval rating has consistently been lower than his disapproval rating. He is a polarizing figure with strong opinions both for and against him. His popularity varies among different demographic groups, with white and male voters more likely to approve of his job performance, while younger voters and members of ethnic minorities are among the most strongly disapproving. Five days ago, U.S. image declines in many nations amid low confidence in Trump. Because we believe it's going to be Trump that is the reason why these nations shall hate the whore. So there's a prophecy. Let's go to the book of Revelation. When you read Revelation, the 17th chapter, it says the allies that were with America were going to hate Babylon the Great. And this is a heavy chapter here. So this is Revelation chapter 17. And 12, it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast." And once the beast was revived, which is during the Renaissance history, going back to the late 13 to 1400s, 1500s. 1600s, which was during the time of the Renaissance revival of the so-called white men ruling the earth, because the Dark Ages were indeed, in the medieval ages, were indeed about black men ruling the planet. The Renaissance, which means rebirth, the rebirth of so-called white power, that happened, and you had a revival of Spain, England, France, Germany, which were the same countries which were involved with Rome, making up the Roman Empire. So they eventually did receive that power with as kings with the beast, going back to what was it, 1958, where you had the all those European nations come together. You had the European Economic Community, which eventually became the EU, which is the European Union, in 1999. And they were allied with America, making up the beast. It says, "These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." So they were all allies at one point, America, Europe. But we've seen over time in Trump's presidencies that Europe is looking more and more in opposition with Trump and America than in alliance. So this is the point here. Verse 15, "And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, When you read this chapter, it speaks about the whore that sits on many waters. That's America. That's the U.S. Okay, because the U.S. is a prostitute sleeps with many women, men, yeah, and women. But that's how America pushes its influence on other nations and countries, whether it be through war, whether it be through policy. So America has its hands among these different nations in the world. It says, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And even America itself is known as the so-called melting pot, where people of all nations and all religions and creeds can come together and live as one, which makes it Babylon, because Babylon is confusion. Different ideologies and philosophies which permeate the minds of the people in this country, it brings about a level of disorder. Verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, which represent Europe, these shall hate the whore. So these European countries are now starting to look down at America, okay? And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And the ultimate end of this place is, even for the allies, the European allies of America are going to destroy this place via their nuclear weapons, nuclear destruction, nuclear missiles, and shall turn this place into a lake of fire. It says, for the Most High, so God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast. So at one point they were all together, they were all in alliance, they all, and they're all Edomite countries. All right? And Russia's not included in this. Russia was never a part of the Roman Empire. And that's why I said history is important. So you can't count Russia in this understanding. It's talking about these European powers and their governments. All right? For the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast. Right? They were in alliance with each other, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. So everything that they've done and will do is all pertaining to the will of the Lord. It's all about his words and his prophecies being fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city. That's America. That's the U.S., which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And the top king is Trump. Trump is even in defiance to England. Charles, the King Charles now of England, and England as a whole, especially during his first term, they were in a disapproval of Trump. So Trump thinks he's the king of the world, that he reigns over all the kings. Why? Because of these prophecies here. Why? Because of the words of the Lord. Okay? It's all about the word of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. All right? So when you go back and you look at this here, okay? Let's go. Let's see if I can. All right, so back here, the Pew Research Center. This is a June 11, 2025. U.S. image, right, the whore, declines in many nations amid low confidence in Trump. Okay? U.S. President Donald Trump receives most negative ratings in a new Pew Research survey of 24 nations. More than half in 19 of these countries say they lack confidence in Trump's leadership of world affairs. So as you can see, all these things of no confidence. A lot of them, most of them, look at these countries of Europe. Right, Canada, 77%. Let me do this before okay, so now, because I want to show you something with this guy, Nero. So back here it says that the Emperor Nero, lose approval with the people. All right. So let's look at this. Factors contributing to declining popularity. Matricide, the murder of his own mother, Agrippina, right? He unalived her, was a shocking act that deeply disturbed many Romans. Extravagant spending and the Domus Aurea, the construction of his lavish golden house, palace, following the Great Fire of Rome in 64 CE, was seen as excessive and sparked questions about the use of public funds. And Trump is known for real estate. And you got Trump Tower. You have these different Trump approved real estate buildings all over the country. You have his own private Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Okay. And the wall. Now, during his first term, what was Trump building that was catching heat from the public? Right? That wall, that border wall. Okay? That's just one example I could give off the top of the head. So it says blaming Christians for the fire. Now, this is something that we in this truth, we have to pay attention to. Because look at what's going on with these so-called Hispanics, the Northern Kingdom tribes, Issachar, Zebulon, those in Mexico, Central America, South America. You got Asher down there, Naphtali. The different tribes are catching hell. But they also are going to start pushing back against this truth. And those of us that believe in Yahweh Shai. Okay? We got to remember, persecution is coming of this word, of this ministry. So it says blaming Christians for the fire, which were Israelites, vocab. The Israelites were blamed for the fire of Rome, Nero's persecution of Christians, believers in Yahushua, as scapegoats for the great fire was viewed with distaste by some Romans. Grain shortage. A grain shortage caused by a rebel cutting off the food supply from Egypt led to a loss of public support in the final months of his reign. Now, you see how he's doing with these tariffs. And that could lead to an increase in food prices, shipping back and forth. The market's going volatile, which we'll see, because the scriptures does prophesy also of a famine in the land. But I'm just speaking on implications of this type of these types of things that happen with Nero that Trump is doing. It says growing tyranny and cruelty. As his reign progressed, Nero's behavior became increasingly erratic, and his cruelty towards political opponents, including the forced suicides and executions of senators, further alienated people. And a lot of different people in politics don't like this guy Trump. It says a summary, while Nero initially enjoyed popular support, just like Trump, particularly among the common people, this popularity eventually diminished due to his actions and decisions, ultimately leading to his downfall. Why did Nero become unpopular? However, Nero's obsession with the Hellenistic East and his mingling with the common folk angered the aristocratic elite, including the members of the Senate. Here we go. By the Senate at the time, which was still living on the conservative fantasies of the Republic period, because he was active in acting, poetry, and music. Right. Trump today is even into entertainment today. Acting, right. Like I mentioned before, reality shows. That's all acting. Okay. Poetry, music, going to these boxing fights and arenas, concerts. This guy, Trump, is Nero all over again. Okay? I'm trying to make sure I hit all these different points. Now, when you look up Nero and Trump, and you look up images, and I've done this before, pretty much everybody compares this guy Trump to Nero. Not just GMS, but we been pushing this heavy. Okay? Yeah, look at this guy. This is him. It looks like this is coming out of Germany. Der Nero needs still. There's a picture of Nero. All right. Yeah, see Trump, Nero. This is him. This is him. Reincarnated. Same guy. All over again. And people are even are saying it more now. Look at this. This is from 2021. Trump fiddles while America burns. Yeah, this is during the time of the epidemic. But this is after, well, it was 2021. Unless it's early, maybe early January 6th, right? Then Trump was still in office until January 20th. Because Biden came into office after this guy did. Nero fiddled while Rome burned. And so they've been comparing him to Nero in these political cartoons. Look at this. History warned us. And then they put the Roman wreath over this guy's head. See, GMS, see, the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, is resting upon Great Millstone. Because somebody has to have the truth. Right? What did Morpheus tell Neo? I'm just offering you the truth. You can take the red pill or the blue pill. Right? Now, you can either believe us or not believe us. But it's just a spiritual observation that we have. And apparently other people have it too. The American Nero. That's what they're calling this guy, the American Nero. The history of the destruction of the rule of law, and why Trump is the worst offender. Now, Nero was also, when you do the history, Emperor Nero was also brought up under certain charges in the Roman Empire. And he fell out of popularity with the people, and that's ultimately why he unalived himself. Okay? He brought about his own end. You know, because people didn't, they didn't like him no more. Because the Senate was coming against Nero back in his time. And now today, Trump is, what, a felon? 30-something plus felonies. Okay? From Nero to zero in 2,000 years. So it's the same thing all over again. Okay, so this is just a book comparing Trump to Nero. Okay, so let's go back So I just wanted to bring that out, since I've been speaking on that comparison there. But basically, his approval rating, his decline, Trump's decline as he's president, it mirrors what happened to Nero in the past. So back here, right? Now they want to give me these surveys. Let me redo this. I don't need any surveys. U.S. image declines in many nations amid low confidence in Trump. So going back here, all these different European countries that you see up top here, it says here they have no confidence in what he's doing. So no confidence. Hungary, 46%, 53%. In the UK, I mentioned about England. In the UK, 62% have no confidence, 37% do. Greece, which is also a part of the beast, 63% over 37% in disapproval. Poland, 60% no confidence over 35%. Italy, right out of Rome, 68% no confidence over 32%. The Netherlands is also part of the beast. The seven heads, 10 horns, 77% no confidence over 22%. I said, this is that prophecy. Revelation 17, they shall hate the whore. And Trump is giving them a reason to hate the whore, which is America. Nero. 78% over 22% for France. 80% over 19% for Spain. Germany, 81% no confidence over 18%. Once again, the beast. Sweden, 85% no confidence over 15%. All these different Asian countries, right? The only ones that have favorable, look at this. Okay, now when you look at the more favorable, and this is as of when? This is as of June 11th, 2025, right? So there'll probably be another report that comes out this week, especially since Israel and Iran have been going back and forth. They're at war. So India has 52% confidence in the U.S. over 23%, right? Between the green and the blue. Israel has 69% confidence and 29% no confidence. So that relationship, we already knew that was automatic because we've been, repeating the prophecy of the least of the flock shall draw them out. And Israel wants, they want, the U.S. to enter this war with Iran. But I believe it came out yesterday, and even the day before that. But basically, Trump and the U.S. is saying they ain't getting involved. Although report did come out that they were helping Israel shoot down them rockets from Iran. Okay. So between Israel and Turkey's 80% no confidence, 16%. And then you got Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa. Nigeria is even have more confidence in the U.S. than the Israel. That's because, hey, who's over there? Jake. And then West African Israelites. You got Israelites in Nigeria. They love coming over here to America, right? Because that's spiritual as well. Because they're Israelites. Nigeria. And you got some scattered in Kenya and South Africa. Kenya, 64% confidence to the right, over 35%. I blame IUIC for that. I'm just playing. And then these as you can see here, 91% no confidence in the U.S., over 8% in Mexico. So the 24 country median, 62% no confidence, 32% confidence in the U.S. So, like I read Revelation 17, right? Revelation 17 and 16. And eventually this is going to take place. The 10 horns, which you saw, of the European countries, the Netherlands, the UK, Greece, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So they have to have a dislike for this place. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And ultimately that's going to lead to the nuclear destruction. Okay? So I spoke on these articles. Everybody's against this guy. The whole world is against Trump, Nero Trump, Caesar Nero Trump, aka Donald John Trump. 5 days ago, Trump approval rating down to 38% in latest survey. And 5 days ago, I really wanted to get this article here. Yeah, it's just not giving me no access. But I made the point. This is another article. This is from Unilad. People are, and this is from June 13th, 2025. So this is as of Friday. People are comparing Trump's approval rating in his second term to his first term, and the difference is staggering. Donald Trump's approval rating doesn't match up with many of his predecessors. People are comparing Donald Trump's approval rating 5 months into his second term with his first term, which began in 2017. And this time around, he's broken his own record, but not in a good way. Because what did it say about Nero? Right? It says initially, right, did Emperor Nero lose approval with the people? Initially, Emperor Nero enjoyed considerable popularity with the common people of Rome and in the provinces. Right? However, right, so he was into the entertainment. He was giving out money. Same thing that Trump was doing. However, his approval among them did wane towards the end of his reign, and his popularity shifted. Right? And it's mainly because of what? His growing tyranny and cruelty. Okay? When you go to, let me get that precept. When you go to Isaiah the 19th, is Isaiah 19? Isaiah the 19th chapter, it speaks about a cruel Lord. Here we go. Isaiah 19:3, and this is speaking about spiritual Egypt, which is America. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. That's why we're seeing over the last, I'll just say 20 years, the different presidential administrations have been failures, including Obama, including Biden, and definitely Trump, because the council is being destroyed based upon his prophecy. And they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers, and to them they have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And if you don't know, there's witchcraft and wizardry going on behind the scenes. They worship Satan in the U.S. government. Okay, ultimately, but they do it. They don't do it out in the open. I mean, they do rituals, but they do it secretly. You got astrologers and prognosticators and witches and warlocks that all are part of that this government, right? To try to uphold this place, but as the Lord said here, it's going to fail. And here's the point, verse 4. And the Egyptians, or the Americans, will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. That's Trump. And a fierce king shall rule over them. Trump took over the National Guard out there in California. And Governor Newsom, right, this is during the protests, Governor Newsom sued him. And then they repealed it. And Trump had continued rule over the National Guard until Tuesday, which is today. So during that whole military parade Saturday and these No Kings protests, which Trump is a king, right? And then you had these protests Saturday, the No Kings protests, which pursuant to in the Apocrypha, 2 Ezra 15:16 on down, it says that the people would not regard their kings nor princes. Well, the top king to not regard is Trump. It's all spiritual. We know he's called president. We know he's called the U.S. president, commander in chief, all of that. But he's a king, and he looks at himself as a king or an emperor. Don't be surprised if Trump start calling himself emperor. Okay? So it says, and a fierce king shall rule over them. Look at his laws. Look how he's handling these protests, how he's manhandling these governors. Saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, of armies. Okay? So this is how everything is repeating itself. Growing tyranny and cruelty. As his reign progressed, Nero's behavior became increasingly erratic, and his cruelty towards political opponents. Right, look at how he handled the Chinese situation with the trade, and then putting over 100% tariffs on them, which is what? Going to drive up prices and costs for the people. And America needs the trade between China because it outsources the majority of its products. America doesn't produce things anymore like that. But Trump's doing what he want to do. It says, in his cruelty towards political opponents, including the forced suicides and executions of senators. And now there's been an increase of suicides. Oh, now what just happened Saturday? Right? It says this further alienated the people. Now what happened this past Saturday out there in, I believe it was Minnesota? Minnesota Senator. Let me just, I'm just typing in Minnesota Senator. Now, I'm not saying that this was, because of Trump or anything or, like that. News. And I put this video out Saturday, right? But this is just the sentiment of the people. Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman killed. State Senator John Hoffman wounded in targeted political violence. Now let me do something. Let me see something here. Minnesota State Senator Ann Rest says shooting suspect visited her street. What I want to get... ...3 days ago. This is out of Minneapolis. 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses were shot by someone impersonating a police officer early Saturday morning. Authorities have identified the suspect as 57-year-old Vance Belter, who remains at large, and I believe they caught the guy. All right, let me get a more recent article on it. This was 3 days ago. But the point is, my point, because I'm not saying that this was the press, but the point that I'm bringing out is this is in in line with the same types of situations that happened during the time of Nero. Okay? You had forced suicides and you had executions of sinners. And I believe Nero was behind that, but that spirit is back in the earth. All right? That spirit of those in political office being unalive is back here again, but it's here during the time of Trump here in America. Everything is reincarnated. All these situations, like the reason why you hear about Jake and they're unaliving their families and their children, that goes back to these Israelites that used to sacrifice their children to Molech, which when you read in the laws and when you read the scriptures, the Heavenly Father told our people, the Israelites, not to sacrifice your children and yourselves to these idols. You know, you hear about a bugged out black woman putting her children in the oven. Well, that's because when they worship Nero, I'm sorry, not Nero, Molech, that's how they would worship Molech in the ancient world and these other gods. You know, they would burn them in these furnaces. So nothing is new under the sun. Okay? So it says, growing tyranny and cruelty. As his reign progressed, Nero's behavior became increasingly erratic, and his cruelty towards political opponents, including the forced suicides and executions of senators, further alienated people. Yeah, everyone is looking down at this guy. In summary, while Nero initially enjoyed popular support, particularly among the common people, this popularity eventually diminished due to his actions and decisions. Trump's making crazy decisions, just as Nero did, ultimately leading to his downfall. I'm overthinking Trump. I'm reading about Nero, but I'm thinking Trump. You know? So this is in summary for, all right, this is Trump here. Trump has a consistent base of support, particularly among Republicans, according to the Pew Research Center. However, his overall approval rating has consistently been lower than his disapproval rating. He is a polarizing figure with strong opinions both for and against him. His popularity varies among different demographic groups, with white and male voters more likely to approve of his job performance, while younger voters and members of ethnic minorities are among the most strongly disapproving, especially now. But, I mean, that's the point. That's the main point. I see what I want to title this lesson. I had a few come to mind. But, like I said, I saw this article dealing with the approval rating of Trump. And then I thought about the history of Rome and Nero. And I just wanted to put it together through the Spirit. So I hope that this was edifying. All praises goes to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Just see here. I don't want to miss anything. Yeah, I saw this one too. Trump. People are comparing Trump's approval rating in his second term to his first term, and the difference is staggering. And the same thing happened with Nero. Let's see here. Yeah, so with that, all praises goes to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Hope this is edifying. Once again, double honors to the apostles, elder bishops, a great millstone, a rule and teach well, that taught me this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 rest of the whole elect out there, men and women. Shalom.